In today's podcast, we are going to be talking about going beyond physical beauty and what really makes a woman absolutely magnetic to men. We're not going to be talking about hair. We're not going to be talking about makeup. We're not going to be talking about clothing or your physique. We're going to be talking about the parts of you that really connects with men on an emotional level. I'm really excited about this one, Gary. You ready to roll?
Let's do it. I love this topic. Here's the thing. Everybody, when they're dating, you're out somewhere, you want to get noticed. You want to catch a guy's eye. But that's all superficial. Rather than just being attractive to someone across the room, you want to stop a guy in his tracks. And the only way to do that is talking. You have to be a little bit more magnetic. You have to bring a little something extra to the table because you want to date in a way that sets up your relationship for success. So if you rely on superficial techniques, you're going to have superficial relationships. Yeah, can you go out dating, give a guy a sultry look, wear a low-cut blouse, and catch his eye? Yep. But now you're starting that relationship out on the wrong foot, right? You're setting it up the wrong way because this is not the kind of relationship you want for the rest of your life. Do you want that to be what he notices about you and prioritizes about you forever? I don't think so. And so to get that deeper connection, you're going to want to go deeper than just pure physical beauty. You want to be magnetic.
Yeah. And look, there's nothing wrong with attracting a man's eye to get things started right off the bat. But once he starts talking to you, that's the difference maker. That's the moment where is this just going to be a physical connection or is this something that can really last for the lifetime? And I know that's pretty heavy when we're talking about just meeting someone. But as humans, we are actually really judgmental. And within the first 3 to even 5 minutes of meeting a person, we make pretty quick decisions whether or not we see a future with that person. And whatever we decide at that moment, we tend to stick with that decision for the entirety of knowing that person. So yeah, catching a guy's eyes with your physical beauty, sure, that's going to just catch his eye. But then once we start that conversation, we want to go a little bit deeper.
So I know that there are women listening to this right now and they're like, no, sorry, guys only care about physical stuff. That's it. That's all they care about. Yeah. If they're only interested in a short-term relationship, you're 100% right. If they are looking for something short-term, they're not looking for commitment, they're not looking for anything serious. Yes. Guys are 99, 98% looking for physical, superficial things. But I'm assuming if you're listening to this podcast, that's not what you're looking for. You're not looking for something short-term. But what I can guarantee you is that guys who are looking for something long-term, something fulfilling, something meaningful, they care about more than just looks.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people out there that are attractive. There's not a ton of people out there who get me, who understand me, who I want to spend time with, who I find interesting, who I find caring, who I feel like sees me, understands me, validates me, all that great stuff. Guys care about that just as much as women.
I will even go so far to say that a very, very small percentage of guys are just looking for something physical. It's a very small percent. Most guys out there who are single date with the idea where, yeah, I want to meet women, see what works, what doesn't work. And if I meet the right girl, of course, I'd be open to a relationship. Now, a lot of women might date those types of guys and say, oh, he was emotionally unavailable. He didn't want a relationship. And sometimes that's true. But in many cases, the harsh reality is that he didn't feel an emotional connection with you. And that's kind of the bitter pill to swallow because I'm sure you all have experienced this with friends and seen them go through this or even yourself where you start hooking up with a guy, it's just physical and that's it. And you think to yourself, well, this guy isn't emotionally available. He's not really ready for a relationship, but then it ends and then he marries the next girl, you know, It's just, it's a harsh reality. And I certainly, as a guy, I went through that myself where there were some women that I would be talking to and dating, and it was just purely, it was very surface level. We didn't really just connect on an emotional level. We didn't click that way, but the physical was great. And I'm sure those women would have labeled me as emotionally unavailable. But the reality was that once I met my wife, I was like, oh, I'm totally emotionally available.
Right.
I'm ready to roll. You know?
Well, I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is this overly romantic notion that it's all about fate, that magic is everything when it comes to relationships. And so those scenarios you just described, I think there's a general tendency for people to just kind of lean back, not do anything, leave it up to fate. And it's like, if we click, we click. And if we don't, we don't. It's like, yeah, but you know, there's things you can do and there's things you should be doing to get a better, truer sense of whether you and this other person are a match. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, are like 5 really simple strategies you can use to make yourself more magnetic. So this way, you then know you did what you could to form that emotional side too. And if it doesn't work, then you know, it's like, okay, I gave that a fair shot. Yeah, it happens sometimes. Fine.
Yeah.
But you don't want to have those experiences where like, I didn't do anything and it didn't work out. And now you play the regret, what if, gosh, I screwed that up, right? It's like, we want clarity. Huge fan of, let's do everything all you can do is all you can do. Like, and here are 5 things you can do to make yourself more magnetic. So do all these things.
I'm on the edge of my seat, Gary. Why don't you walk us through the first one? Let's go.
All right. So to be more magnetic, you got to open up. And so everyone says open up. And it's like, okay, what does that exactly mean? Show him a side of yourself that others don't see. You're successful. You're professional. You're an adult. You're mature. Not always. Let's stop. Like, be a little mischievous. Be fun. Be flirty. Like, let your hair down, right? Like, just open, like, act with him how you would act with your female best friends, right? You go hang out with your female best friends. You're not prim and proper. You're a different person. I see this with my wife all the time. She's around. You see with her all the time, right? She just acts different around her friend. And it's like it's the sweetest, most pure thing how my wife acts around her female best friends. But it's like, you can channel that in a dating experience and just be yourself, because you are authentically yourself when you're with your best friend. So be comfortable enough to leave your professional work persona aside. Be vulnerable. Here's the big bonus. When you are more vulnerable, when you are more authentic, humans naturally have a reciprocity principle where what you're doing, I feel compelled to do myself. As I say to our clients all the time, give what you want to get.
I love this. I think it's so important, and it really resonates with me, because I remember when I first started learning all this dating stuff before I was a coach and trying to figure out my own life. I remember I would try and read all these books and like learn these things to say and go out and say these things to try and attract women and try and, you know, get a date. And it wouldn't work because it wasn't me. You know, it got me to a point where I could actually start talking to women, which was good. But then I had to actually undo all of that and just be like, I am me in every way, shape, or form. If she doesn't like me, so what? I'm just going to be as much of me as possible, act the way I might act around my friends, say the things I might say. Yeah, some of them might be a little bit risky. Maybe I might even offend a couple people. That's okay. That's like the human experience. You know, like that's how the world goes. And so I really encourage everyone to just lean into that side of you, like Gary said, where you are letting your hair down and you're just, you know, in a positive way. If you're hanging out with your friends and it's just constant man bashing, let's not do that. But the way you would act away with your most fun friend that you just are laughing, having a great time, that's the energy you want to bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. So the second thing that makes a woman magnetic is she doesn't care what other people think, right? She's confident without being arrogant. She's just comfortable in her own skin. Like, we as guys like to feel that way ourselves. And so we like being around other people who are also confident and aren't constantly like, what do they think? What should I do? What is everyone else doing? I need to act like everybody else. Like, no. Like, we are our own thing. Like, we're living life on our own terms, and we want someone else who's doing the same. We don't want to be with someone who's constantly worrying about what other men think, especially, but other women as well. And it's like, you if you're comfortable enough to do what you want without worrying about outside perceptions, it's kind of hot. That's cool. That's what we want. Like, what a good energy to be around. Fantastic.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, personal experience, I used to care a lot about what people think. I still do sometimes. And I have to remind myself of this, that no one really cares about you. And that's a good thing. No one cares. You know, like there was such a time in my life where I was always trying to adapt myself and make everyone happy. And, oh my God, what are they thinking about me? I'd walk into a room and be like, oh my God, am I wearing the right thing? Am I looking the right way? Am I showing up the way that everyone else is at this place because they're all going to judge me? Until I got to a point where I just realized everyone is so concerned with themselves that they're not even thinking about you. Yeah. So if you could just remind yourself of that, anytime you go out, whenever you're with friends or whenever you're just, you know, even just going to, you know, a bar with some friends and just kind of chatting up some people, no one cares. And that's the best thing. That's the best possible mental model you can use when you're meeting new people.
Yeah, I would say one other really specific piece of strategy to use that falls into this not caring what other people think mentality is when constructing your online dating profile. So many people, when they don't know what they're doing, the first thing, they go and look at a bunch of other people's profiles and they're like, oh, she described herself as liking to travel and liking to do yoga and enjoying Starbucks. I'm going to do the same thing because that clearly works. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible way to go about it.
Basic.
So yeah, like
so basic.
you can, you're so
you have to throw
basic.
Starbucks in there.
You're so basic, right?
It's so basic.
If you're writing a profile that can describe anyone else on the planet that you know, you're doing it wrong because you need to describe you. You don't care what everyone else is doing. Even if you have some weird thing you like to do. I don't know, find rocks, paint. I don't know. I don't want to offend anybody that's into rock painting, but it's like there's just something that you do that is like quirky, right? We call it a quirkiness advantage. Lean into it because you don't care what other people think. If that's your thing, if that's the thing you're really into, great. Your guy is going to find it endearing, or he's going to also be into the same thing. And you want to make sure that there's truth in advertising, so to speak.
Yeah, which really lends us to the third way to just magnetically connect is having this sense of this purpose and passion in your life. I mean, you already have an amazing life. And the thing is, your passion, if you have a passion for anything, whether it is painting rocks, go for it. It's contagious. You know, when someone is really passionate and excited, passion just really is a sense of emotion that is oozing out of you. It clearly lights your fire. That is where you naturally draw other people in. And it could be truly anything. It could be so weird. That's totally fine. I say lean into the weird. You know, it could be a certain type of art that you do, type of personal growth, maybe whatever it is. I mean, of course, you're not a finished project yet or a finished product. You still have more growth to do, but don't be afraid to just ooze this level of passion in your life because when people, I'm sure, Gary, have you ever just met someone and within a few minutes you're like, oh my God, I am enthralled by this human being? It always tends to come from this level of passion. And they could be talking about Honda Civics for all I care about, cars, you know, like the lamest thing in the world to me. They're like, oh my God, the Honda Civic, you have no idea. That thing is just, you should feel what it feels like to drive that with the wheel and the, you know.
You know, it's one of the best pieces of advice, in my opinion, that I give to college students.
What's that? Drive a Honda Civic?
Not a Civic. Great on gas. No, it's when you don't know what class to take and you have electives, don't look at the class title. Find professors who are passionate about whatever it is they teach about. Doesn't matter the topic. It doesn't matter if you have zero interest in it. If you can find a professor and she is super passionate about poetry and you think poetry is terrible, take that class because I guarantee you are going to be enthralled and you're going to leave that class liking poetry because passion and purpose, it's contagious. We like to see people that have a mission and a vision. We want to all be part of something bigger. And so he doesn't want to sacrifice his priorities. He's got his own passion and purpose. You do too. guess what? You have great things going on. You're amazing. I'm amazing. Together, we're going to be even more amazing. Like that, talk about magnetism. That's what it's all about.
Well, Gary, it reminds me of the conversation I think we had earlier this week where we're preparing for a big event coming up with our Lux clients. It's our highest tier coaching program. It's a very small group of women. We all get together 3 times a year. And I was like, I don't know about my presentation. I'm not so sure about it. I don't know if they're going to like it. And Gary's like, are you passionate about it? I'm like, yeah, I'm actually really excited about this one. He's like, it's going to be amazing then. So long as you like it, like obviously you want to create a presentation that is going to resonate. And we know that this will resonate to a degree. But what does matter most is that you're excited about it. I love how you're always bringing me back to that. Like, do the things that you want to do. Talk about the podcast. Like in our podcast, when we're deciding what topics we're going to discuss, we're like, what are we both excited about talking about? And what are the things that, yeah, like some people might want to hear about it, but we just don't want to go there. We don't feel like it. Don't do it. I love that. I think it's so important.
Yeah, and I think, this is all part of being magnetic just in your everyday life, right? Like so many times, obviously this is a podcast about relationships and dating, but so many of these things that we're sharing just, they factor in all facets of your life, right? And so it actually, the fourth thing here that makes a woman magnetic also factors in your life, which is you have to make people in your life earn it. Don't be too available. Don't be around too much. Don't make it easy on him. And I'm not saying play games, but there's this some nerdy, you want a little psych nerd concept here, Adam?
Throw in the glasses, dude. Let's
Intermittent reinforcement, which is just like, be a little unpredictable. This is like, why do people sit in Atlantic City or Las Vegas at slot machines? Because they don't know when it's going to pay off. But when it pays off, it's amazing. And so having a little bit of that unpredictability is good. Making him work for it a little bit is good. Another psych term that fits here is effort justification. If he has to work for it and put in some time, he's going to appreciate the end product more. We like what we invest in. We like what we put time into, energy, resources, etc. We like things that are hard, right? Sometimes it's the effort that makes us really like the end experience.
Yeah, it's like, why are kids of billionaires just snot-nosed kids that don't appreciate anything? Because they didn't have to work for it. And I actually have a lot of compassion for a person who was just raised in a family with just unlimited wealth, because they're never going to appreciate it the same way as someone who had to really work for it and put in the hours and make it happen. And I think, your point is well taken, where this shouldn't be a game at all. This is the natural way in which courtship happens with dating, where the man is making investments. He doesn't know if it's going to pay off or not, but he wants it to pay off. He's hoping, and he does get rewarded from you. And then also he doesn't get rewarded at times because he's not quite showing up. And so don't be afraid to allow for that space to exist and do it naturally. Like, don't do it. Don't like, oh, he waited an hour to respond for my text, so I'm going to wait 2 hours. Instead, just be so busy that your phone is just put to the side and you naturally are waiting 5 hours to respond because you got other stuff going on in your life. That's the key shift with everything. And so, yeah, I think that this is just such an important piece. The final part of this that I'll say, just having been doing this for so long, is that a lot of women will find this easy to do when you're talking to a guy that you don't really like that much. That's pretty easy to like make him earn it. But when that guy comes around, who's everything you've been looking for, don't fall to pieces. All right. Don't, like, that's typically when clients are like, they just give in completely because they're like, oh, I finally found it. And they give everything to this one guy and don't make him earn it. Still, with every guy, no matter how successful, how incredible he is, he also has to invest in you so that once again, he appreciates it once he has you.
The other thing to consider with all of this is you want to create enough space so that he gets a chance to show you how authentically interested he is. If you make it too easy and you text all the time and you set up dates and you constantly bring him along and just allow him to tag along and say, yep, okay, yep, okay, yep, okay, it's way too easy. Do you want to drag them through the entire relationship? Like, you don't want a one-sided relationship like that. And so give him the space that allows him to step up.
Amen. Why don't you take us home, Gary? What's the fifth one?
Yeah, so
Magnetize me. Magnetize me.
The last thing is you want to be witty. We all like smart partners. We like interesting partners. And the thing about wit, it's like being smart's cooler cousin, because you have to be smart to be witty. But witty's like fun. It's joking around. It's beyond just being somebody's cheerleader. Like, so many guys are accustomed to women in their life just being like, you're the best, you're amazing, you're awesome. Witty's a little bit more cool than that. It's a little bit more biting. It can be a little playful. It can be joking with them a little bit. It kind of helps balance out the power dynamic a little bit. I was thinking of a previous conversation at some point I had with my wife. This happened a long time ago, but it went something along the lines of, I was saying how much I like being spontaneous, which is not generally true, but in the moment I was wanting to be spontaneous, I think.
That was the identity you desired.
It was aspirational entirely. And I was like, yeah, I'm spontaneous. And she was like, yeah, says the guy who's been drinking out of this same exact coffee mug for 10 years. Like, that's witty. Like, that's playful teasing. And it was like, fair.
Right.
Totally fair. But it's like, you have to be like quick and you have to be on top of things to be able to do that. And it shows a comfort with somebody. It shows a knowledge with somebody, clever comebacks. It's added. Guys like being fun and funny. He likes to be funny. And if you can show that you can hang with that, that's pretty cool. Like, talk about magnetic. That's somebody I want to hang out with.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that there's such strong messaging for men to be funny when we're younger. That's how you get girls, is be funny. And that's true. I mean, if you can make a woman laugh, oh my God, that is the most potent way to attract a woman. That's for sure. But for women, the messaging is so focused on the physical, like getting his attention, but no one discusses to women a great way to connect with a guy and make him want to stick around and build that deep emotional bond with you is by being funny and playful yourself. Now, you don't have to be comedic at all. Like Gary just said, it's a certain attitude that you can bring to the table when you're going on a date or just kind of goofing around. There's like kind of a goofy, everyone listening to this has a goofy side to them, or a moment where even if you're not funny, you find other people really funny, laughing at his jokes and just like getting into that kind of groove. It can be incredibly potent on a date. If you and him can be laughing together on the date, that's how, once again, that real deep sense of intimacy is built. And just as a side bonus tip, I would say for those of you who are really disconnected from your humor, like you don't have much of it in your life, just listen to some stand-up comedy. Like, go to Netflix, go on Spotify, just find a comedian. I don't care who it is. They could be the least, I could hate how they are, but if you like them and they make you laugh, listen to them. An hour a day of stand-up comedy will just get you into a mindset of humor and just lightens your world, so that when you do go on the date, that's kind of a frame of mind that you'll be on when you go on that date.
I love that suggestion. And when you listen to the stand-up comedy, it's not what they're saying. It doesn't even matter the content of their story. It doesn't matter. Pay very close attention to how they say it, how they set things up. It can, most of the time, their stories, when you just look at the facts of it, very mundane, very boring. There's not much to it, but they are telling it in such a way. It's a little dramatic effect. It's a pause. It's a waiting to see what they're going to say next. And you just start hanging on their words. And they're not just constantly talking in monotone, and they're self-deprecating. They're making observations. It's constantly playful, and that's the thing. And I would just say one other piece about this witty thing is this is not to say that you should do this 100% of the date, right? Yeah. It's a dosage thing. Like, you have to, you're gonna drop this in here and there. This does not become your new persona where you're out there cracking jokes and doing that the whole time. Playful teasing is a little bit here and there, just a little bit. He says he's super organized. You say, yeah, you do kind of strike me as the kind of guy who alphabetizes his sock drawer by color, right? Like, Like, it's just kind of like, yeah, of course you're really organized. Like, whatever. Just something.
Oh, Gary, you do not have girl game. Oh my God, I can't.
Not a girl.
You're not a girl.
But somebody says that stuff. Like, I say something where I'm like, like you can see a guy, like, yeah, I'm super organized. Like, he's like trying to be cool. And then like you kind of poke fun at like how organized. I don't know. Like, I would react well to that.
Totally. I can see that. You're like, oh, that was hot. Yeah.
No, I'd be like, no, it's not a hot. You're kind of cool. Like, I could see myself enjoying your company. Right. And that I think is the key to the magnetism.
It is weird how playful teasing is such an attractive form of banter on a date. And I think this is especially true for guys who have options. Like, if you got on a lot of dates with a lot of women and you feel like, okay, I got some options here, and you go out with a woman who's just kind of making fun of you a little bit, it is a breath of fresh air. It's so different. I'm speaking on personal experience, like going on my wife, because she was just like hit me pretty hard in a funny way, and it was so memorable compared to really anything that I'd met at the time, because I thought I was cool. I'm a 26-year-old kid who thinks he's cool. I wasn't at all. Or actually, I was a little bit older. I was 29. Now that I think about it, she was 26. And man, we'd go on these dates, and she's just kind of tooling on me. And I'm like, I love this. This is so funny and so great. And like in a positive, not like mean about it, but.
And it just makes you work harder to be more, because you're hoping to impress her. And if she's not totally buying it and she's making fun of you a little bit, it's like, wait, okay, I got to work twice as hard to be impressive. And that's kind of, we say all the time with our clients, be the chooser, not the chaser. And so if you push back on him a little bit in this witty, fun kind of way, it automatically makes him think, ooh, I've got to step up my game. And that's what you want. Make him do the work.
Amen. So ladies, hopefully you can use these on the next couple dates you go on. Get out there, go magnetize some men, and let us know how it goes. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. All right. Thanks, Gary. That was great, man.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam.